Here we go, live Thursday night. Got the early start. Cofield and Petro is with us.
That I am, Steve. That I am.
Familiar voice on this Thursday. We talked to him earlier in the day on Cofield and Company. So we follow up for Kansas City residents. This is kind of big for Vegas. If you don't follow hockey, the Golden Knights in Vegas had a chance to close out their series against the Wild again and came up short again. So now there's going to be a game 7. They were leading 3-1. They dominated, getting the lead to 3-1, at least the 2 games prior to getting the lead to 3-1. And now they're staring at pressure pack situation, choke situation. And they have a game 7 at home. So at least it's on the home ice. But tonight was not good. They didn't get a lot of scoring opportunities. Well, they put a lot of shots on near the goal in the last game, but they had a tough time in that one. Tonight was even worse. So, and the story of the game, I thought, the story of the game was they didn't get a lot of good opportunities. That's the first story. But then in the third period, the Wild got on the board first, 1-0. Golden Knights appeared to get back into it and tie it 1-1, but Alex Tuch was in the crease. And it was pretty clear he was in the crease. And, yeah, he was being kept from, getting out of the crease by Dumba. But the guy's making a smart play. And then for some reason they decided to challenge it, which I thought was stupid and desperate. And I have a lot of fans who were like, whoa, what else were they going to do? There were like 9 minutes left in the game. Don't challenge something that clearly on video is not going to be overturned. Like, you still had time to score. And then, from there, they kind of melted down. They give up a second and a third goal, 3-0. And it's weird, man. The vibe on Golden Knights fans, Petro, is really weird. And it's like a lot of fan bases. But because they haven't broken through and won the cup in their first 4 years, people here are like instantly when they go down, it's like, it's over. Game 7, it's over. Like, relax, okay? They have home ice. It's going to be a raucous atmosphere. They're going to have 12,000 plus in the building. If they're the better team, they're going to win the game.
Yeah, I think that's it. But I think when, we've talked a lot about this the last few weeks. We even talked about it a little bit today, just about when you are handed a Stanley Cup finalist, there's almost nowhere to go but down, right? Like the expectation level is so high that it's easier to be a Raider fan because the expectation level has been set low. And so go to the playoffs and there's like, hey, we had a hell of a season. We're building, we're going somewhere. But when you're backing up from like year 1, we were in the finals. Yep. Then all of a sudden it's difficult for the fans to come to grips with what's going on.
It's a weird fan base here, though. They have expectations, but we'll see how they react this year if they do lose in Game 7. There are a group of fans who will get all over the Golden Knights, but a lot of it is still a feel-good story. And I don't know. I think it was pretty clear this year. They were one of the best teams going in. They were one of the best teams during the regular season. They blew the game they needed to win to get home ice throughout and actually face the Blues instead of the freaking Wild, who were their kryptonite because they mismanaged the roster. They were walking that tightrope with the salary cap all year, and then they only had 15 players available for the Avs game on a Monday night a couple of weeks ago. So they put themselves in this position, and now they gotta figure it out. This matchup for them sucks, and they didn't get it done tonight. I don't think it's going to be half Wild fans at the game on Friday. I would highly doubt that. JVT commenting, going back to, I think, the last game. Last game, they outshot the Wild 39-14. It was 22-1 in the second period, and they still lost the game. And John saying, did you see shot selection generate some high danger chances? Same thing tonight, but there weren't that many shots in general.
Listen, any goal sport, quantity of shots, like in basketball, shot quantity is always one of the most valuable traits. But it's when it's in basketball, shot make probability is way higher than it is in soccer and in hockey. Over the course of an entire season, if you generate the most shots, particularly the most shots on goal, then you're going to be in a good position. That's the simple metrics of what's going on. But in any one game, the quality of shot matters. And in any one game, the outlier can occur. So that's why you want to take care of it earlier. I mean, listen, hockey's a sport The beauty of the Knights was they made a run to the Stanley Cup Finals, but that's not a birthright even for high seeds.
Brady, are they up? When are they on or when are they on sale? Are they on sale right now? You can grab them now on the tickets. He says $131.95 to get in the door with taxes and fees on Friday. See if you get an answer on that one. Let's see.
This is right now.
Face-offs more important than shots. I think through the beginning of the fourth period, they were winning. I think they led the battle in face-offs. I didn't see the final count.
But I disagree. That's totally wrong. That's totally wrong, right? Because you must have possession of the puck to get a shot off. So shots inherently come with one face-offs and taking possession of the puck. Possession is what is it? Is assumed, right? It's impossible to take a shot if you don't have the puck. So all those things happen, right? Yes, you have to win the faceoffs. Yes, you have to not give up rebounds off your goalie. Yes, you have to maintain possession of the puck. Don't turn it over. Don't turn it over on breakaways, right? All those things go with it. Absolutely. Every little thing matters in the grand scheme of things. But generally speaking, if you pepper the other team's goalie, eventually one's going to go through. I mean, how much of hockey is just get rubber on the goalie? And you've eliminated, like in any other sport, all the crap teams are gone. So getting the beautiful goal, generally the beautiful goal where it's pass, touch, and the goalie's flying this way while you just tap in an easy one, that comes against the ass teams. Generally not against the ones that are good and still playing.
The Wild had one tonight. They had a picture perfect where they got a long rebound, and Zach Parise, who hadn't played in most of the series, made a nice pass off the boards, and the Wild had Fleury freaking scrambling. But the rest of the time, most of it's about getting someone in front of the net, blocking their vision, scramble. And the Knights have had their weak moments, one, not getting enough people in front of the net, but also getting people from out in front of their own net. So AJ says Talbot, average goalie, Golden Knights making him look like a Hall of Famer. Yeah, it sounds like some of the stuff last year. I have no idea. And I'll tell you this right now, Adam Hill, who covers the Knights, I said it to him on the air today. I'm like, dude, I know what you're doing after the series. It's so predictable because you've been waiting all year long. Adam's case all year long, as the VGK fans and the rest of, a lot of hockey people have celebrated the two goalie system for the Knights. Right. They have $7 million invested in Fleury, $5 million invested in Leonard. And he said all along, he's like, that's going to be a waste of like $6 million on average per game come the playoffs because you can't have one of them on the ice. And Leonard hasn't played the entire time. And I know what he's going to do if they lose the series. It's like, how much of that $6 million could have been spent on, whatever, a more dangerous defender who was offensive or someone else who could score. That $5 or $6 million is going to look wasted in the playoffs if they don't go and at least get close to winning the Stanley Cup. Certainly if they lose in the first round, they're going to get blistered by some.
I think it's a good point. And I think, it's like in any other sport. There's football maybe not like this, but in all the best ofs, the long season sports, there's one recipe to win in the regular season. There's another one to win in the postseason. It's been long enough since Moneyball. The line, and I'm a big Billy Beane fan, but the line that is quoted in that book that he says, listen, I know what it takes and I know how to get us to the postseason. But once you get to the postseason, it's all luck. That's bullshit. Because if that was the case, he would have broken through at some point. There's clearly a difference between building a regular season team that, in my opinion, feasts on fourth and fifth starters and middle of bullpens offensively, and then just has great depth across the board pitching-wise, pretty good defense. When you get to the postseason, you need guys that can go out and win games 2-1 on the mound, and you need guys that can make contact against aces.
Yeah, I love now this. Same
thing in hockey. To Adam's point, that's great. The two goalies help you, grind through the regular season. But I mean, I think there's some truth in what he says that. Okay, that's great. There's a difference between what it takes to get there or to get there as the number one seed. That's not necessarily the same formula as what it takes to get through best of sevens.
All right, we're about 10 minutes in. This is the first one we've gotten of this. I saw this all over Twitter. The Knights did tie it at 1-1. So if the rest of the room wants to react to David, I'm not going to. So it was goalie interference. I'm sorry. It was goalie interference. So Tuck was in a spot he shouldn't have been in, couldn't get out of. They've been consistent. If you're sniffing the tip of your skate is in the crease, it's interference. You may not like it. You may think it's weak. That's the call. And here's the thing. The Knights have benefited from it. So unless, in past games you were pissing and moaning about it, you can't complain about it tonight. It's certainly not the worst call you've seen in recent memory. Because as Brian Blessing said, Brian's a big hockey expert who was on our show today. He's like, the call that benefited the Knights the other day was worse. But no one complained about it because it was beneficial to the Knights.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm never one to sit and talk about the officials. I mean, go out and don't leave it to the officials. Don't leave it to one goal. In this case, don't get, smoked with 3 goals. It is what it is. You come back and win game 7 and you're moving on.
And that's the best point.
Yep.
1-0, risking a power play if you're wrong. It's a terrible challenge.
Yes.
Come on, Lenny. God damn it.
You don't
when you're
challenge.
in on Tuesday, I'm gonna freaking come on.
You don't challenge
Terrible
just because like, oh, well, we have it, so we're gonna use it. Well, you might need it later.
Yeah. The Knights already experienced the worst call in the history of their franchise last year when they got a bad call. The Sharks benefited, and then they folded and got 500 goals in a row. So that was a bad call, but it sucks. So Friday, game 7, and I can see the narratives already coming out there that who said it earlier that and it's something everyone was afraid to say when the Knights were having this great season and when other teams around the league were having great seasons. With these top-heavy divisions where the teams at the bottom sucked and all you played was your own division and you just feasted on the weak, the poor, the unwilling, like the Kings who weren't trying down the stretch, the suck-ass Ducks, Sharks sucked.
I think they changed their name to that too, didn't they? Suck-ass Ducks?
Suck-ass Ducks. It's a new Disney
movie. And now
movie.
you're Anaheim Suck-ass Ducks.
So we'll let here we go. Do we do this? Put Leonard in immediately. We know Leonard stan Adam Hill will be all about that. We have Petro, just so you know, we have a deep divide with media members who've gotten really emotional over Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Leonard, and it all goes back to last year. They all picked their sides, and the Leonard people this year are like, Fleury's done. Leonard's got the long-term contract. Get rid of Fleury. Then Bill Foley, the owner's like, yeah, we're not trading Fleury, because I like him and we need him. And so then Leonard went down this year. Fleury has an awesome year, borderline Vezina, and he plays the entire playoff series. And all the Leonard people, again, are just waiting like, see? Should have been him. Should have been. But it got really emotional last year because guys would snipe in the media, the pro-Fleury people and the pro-Leonard people. So the pro-Fleury people, all, the media people have been patting themselves on the back like, see, told you I was right. And now the Leonard people will come over the top if they lose the series and go at the Fleury people, which, by the way, is great in the media. Really good to hitch your wagon to someone and get like all emotional about your arguments with other media members.
Isn't a lot of Adam Hill's argument on literally every topic torpedoed largely by his continued support for Tyrod Taylor?
That one, the Leonard stuff, he has a really good case. Because
I agree, but he loses credibility.
I think we kind of joke about it at this point. I mean, the Josh Allen thing is getting a little tough. So if you keep moving the goalposts, like Josh Allen sucks to now Josh Allen's only had one good year, then your argument can hold up. Like he's got to prove it this year. So we'll see what happens on that one.
Okay. Are you taking Allen or are you taking Taylor?
Yeah.
Which one are you taking?
I like Tyrod Taylor, but I like the upside of Josh Allen. So, and
upside. The present day that he's had a season already that Tyrod Taylor has not had. He's won more playoff games than Tyrod Taylor has won. I think if anyone's got something to prove, it's Tyrod Taylor.
I think he has to. I think when I say upside, I think we need to see something close to this from Allen again before we go next level and we're talking $40 million.
No, we need to see nothing else in the argument of Allen versus Taylor.
Oh, no. If you, to answer that, no, it's no.
Okay.
It's clear now.
No, but is Allen and Herbert? I mean, Herbert hadn't even had a winning record yet. You know, I'm not convinced. You know, I talked about it today. We were talking NFL football, and I said, listen, there's nothing Justin Herbert's done that Derek Carr hadn't already done. The difference is Herbert hasn't had to have 5 follow-up seasons where everyone goes, well, where are all the victories? Where's the division title? Where's the playoff wins? Where's the Super Bowl champion? Derek Carr's had to face that down. And I'm not trying to tell everyone in Vegas that Derek Carr's the best quarterback out there. But as of right now, he did it in his second season. But Derek Carr's had a year as good, or I would say slightly better than Herbert's. In his third year, he was definitively better. And his second year might have been better than Herbert's first year. But I think the rookie quarterback is more ready. No doubt. I give Herbert credit for doing what he did as a rookie, but he was 6-9. Let's all calm ourselves. When he needed to make plays against the Chiefs, he shit himself in the game that he tried. Yeah. He threw a terrible interception. Now, that was the first start of his career, granted. But, you know, Derek Carr I did a lot of shows in this town talking about how all the fans, look at the Raiders. They got their franchise quarterback. They're all set with Carr. We're pissing and moaning here with Alex Smith. And give it a few years, we'll see what we're saying about Allen and Herbert. I grant you that. You still have to back it up.
Right.
But we'll see what they end up being.
On the goalie split, I actually did say today multiple times, I thought Leonard should have started today. Since you had Game 7 as a backup, I thought, you know, you go rotation all year long and you get Fleury well rested, and he has one of the best seasons of his career, and then you're going to have him play 7 games in a row. I don't know. So that's not in hindsight. If you listen today, I said it in the first hour, I said it in the fourth hour that I thought Leonard should have been in there. And then so what? You know, that's a tough decision for DeBoer, but you got Game 7, and you know, that's why you're the head coach. You make tough decisions. Hey, we did it all year. This is the formula I think is going to work. And I'm not blaming it on Fleury. It's not Fleury first and foremost, but it would have been nice to see Leonard out there.
Although I will say I think that's him trying to shift gears and be playoff coach. I mean, if your point is valid, if that's what you've done all year, you can stick with it. But I also, watched, major league managers stay with a pitcher. You know, they stayed with, what's his name? The Dark Knight in 2015, the Mets.
Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey. They didn't go get him. And the Royals finally got to him. He'd been brilliant all along, and they sent him back out there to go through the lineup a third time, or maybe even a fourth time. Maybe he'd been through it 3 times. I can't remember. I got to go back. I'd have to go back and look at the box score. And it blew up. But it's like that's what we always do. Pedro Martinez against the Yankees in 2003, where ultimately he ends up giving up the runs, and the game was it 5? Were we playing 5 then, or was it 7? The year before the Red Sox came back and won 4 in a row. And Pedro Martinez is out there, a guy who anyone who bet Pedro Martinez, bet baseball, would tell you was done at 85 pitches, and Grady Little's running his ass out there on pitch number 110. Well, that's what we do. That's what we always do. I mean, there's both sides to it. The bottom line is all managers, general managers, coaches are in the get it right business. You'll be celebrated if you get it right. Sometimes you had nothing to do with that. You'll still be celebrated. You get it wrong, you're an idiot.
Button pushers.
You know that line?
No, I actually don't.
It's a line from The Simpsons. Moe is sitting, and they're talking baseball, and he goes, all I know about managers is the manager's always wrong. Unless, of course, he's right. And in that case, he's a button pusher.
Right.
We play that drop quite a bit.
All right, little NFL. You don't think there's any chance Julio Jones is going to the Chiefs? I don't think there's any chance that Julio Jones will be here on the Raiders.
So I had a friend once who said that if the Royals re-signed Alcides Escobar, he would eat his hat. And they did re-sign him, and we actually made him eat a hat. Well, he did it, and it almost killed him. I don't say things like that because I would be like him if I said if that happens, I'll do this jackass thing. Sometimes it does happen, right? But I will tell you, I am quite confident from the conversations I've had that he is not going to the Kansas City Chiefs, despite what all Chiefs fans and what every fan base wants. Everybody wants Julio Jones, and why wouldn't you? And it immediately, I love the mindset of the fan, and I would almost say it's the American sports fan, that if you're not telling them what they want to hear, you hate the guy. Or I don't hate Julio Jones. I still think there's a good football left to be played in him. He's an athletic freak, so he should age fairly well. He may be the guy that can play at 35 or 6 at a high level. His game will kind of change, but I think he can make up for it. It's the financial costs that are going to come with it. And the Chiefs don't have – the Chiefs are barreling towards Atlanta Falconville and having to cut good players because the cap eventually is real. I know that Brett Veach and the Chiefs have made it look like it's not real. The Falcons did that for quite a while. Now they're paying the ticket on it. And they're having to get rid of Julio Jones, a guy that they absolutely don't want to be getting rid of.
Yeah, he's owed $38 million over the next 3. So
why aren't the Raiders in a position to go get him?
Because they're pretty tight on the cap.
How are they tight on the cap?
They are.
I know they are.
Well, because I can tell you because there's some sloppy signings in the bunch, and I have no idea how much cap relief they would get by cutting Carl Nassib, but signing rotational defensive lineman Carl Nassib for $8 million a year for 3 years, that's a bad start. That doesn't help your cause. So
the one thing I remember the Raiders did, I don't know, I think it was Del Rio's time there. When did Rodney Hudson sign? Whenever he signed, they front-loaded the Rodney Hudson deal to make it the Chiefs wanted to re-sign Rodney Hudson. Right, they wanted to keep him, and they poison-pilled the Chiefs, who have always been a pay-it-later franchise, and they poison-pilled him by giving him a huge first-year salary, right? And to match, they were going to have to give him tons of upfront money, and they didn't have the cap room to do it. And so the Raiders front-loaded his deal, one, because they had a ton of cap room at that time, so they could take it on at that point, and then the number would come down, which would help give them salary cap flexibility moving forward. Then you unload Khalil Mack, who wasn't making big money at that time, but was going to have to make big money. And so you should be in a position to where if you still manage the cap, you should be in a great position financially. And to see them build an offensive line and then have to tear it apart is one of the more disappointing and I think criminal things that has been done in general managership. And you can blame whoever, John Gruden or Mike Mayock, whoever the guy, wherever the buck stops. But that's not how it's supposed to be. To be walking away is ridiculous. And so, bad signings and thinking you're one player away when you haven't even made the playoffs, or a couple of players away and you overextend on a guy. Like the Chiefs overextended on a couple of guys. They overextended on Frank Clark. They gave up a first and a second round pick and then gave him over $100 million. And he was never a perennial 10-sack guy. And he has not lived up to the contract. But he was the one guy they thought they were away. And like I said, you're in the get it right business. Brett Veach and Andy Reid got it right. Been to 2 Super Bowls, 1-1.
I'm not super comfortable talking about the cap because it also mystifies me that somehow the Chiefs, like you're saying they're going to pay the piper now. The Chiefs, the Rams, there are a couple other teams where you're like, wait, doesn't ever seem to be a cap. Now the Falcons got hit finally. Is it reality around the NFL? Some teams just know how to work the cap. Their capologists are just better than other teams.
Yes, there are. And the Chiefs have really good ones. And they both interviewed for GM jobs, and how they weren't hired is beyond me. Okay. So I think, Grant Tillis is one of them. He interviewed, I think, was the Titans GM job open? Can't remember where he interviewed. Anyway, he interviewed and they didn't get hired. I don't get it. Right? Because, they've done a brilliant job. But it used to be any one contract you can fit. But beyond that, okay, the cap becomes real. I would say any 1 year you can fit. But beyond that, the cap comes real. Like Julio Jones is available, and I think he's going to go picks-wise for less than people think because he costs a lot of money. You've got to have the cap space. And so that limits the number of people that can go after him. And I would say to the Chiefs cap was a problem also in 19 when they won it. The difference was they absorbed their injuries in the middle of the year. Like there's a stat, the Chiefs are like 27-1 when Eric Fisher starts over the last 2 years, and like 4-6 when he doesn't. Something along those lines. Whatever it is, it's they've only lost once with Eric Fisher on the field, right, in regular season and playoffs. And so you look at those numbers and you go, okay, well, Eric Fisher got hurt midseason and 19, was healthy at the end of 20. When he's not healthy for the Super Bowl, do you have any depth? Do you have other guys? Do you have a $7 million guard like Nelson with the Colts that you can kick out the tackle to get you through? No, you moved $1.5 million Mike Remmers from right tackle to left tackle, and he got abused. And so the cap did ultimately catch up with them last year. Nobody wants to say it because once you get to the Super Bowl, oh, you did everything right. But defensively, they weren't as good as they were 2 years before because the cap caught up with them. The offensive line-wise, they didn't have any depth whatsoever. And as guys went down, and they started an offensive line that was probably about, I'm going through my head, $6 million, $7 million total. And they got what they paid for because they were paying Chris Jones and Frank Clark. Frank Clark didn't get what they were paying for. Paying Tyrann Mathieu, got a $19 million cap hit this year. Very good player, but $19 million. That's his cap hit when the average, top line safety averages $14 million a year. Well, when you backload the deal, when in the first year of the deal, he's only counting like 7, it gets easier to put good talent around him. This past year, I think he counted like 14, and next year he counts 19. It gets tougher to make it all work. Anthony Hitchens at $11 million. Tyreek Hill, you're now paying full price on Tyreek Hill. You're paying full price on Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher to not play. Full price on Travis Kelce. No bargain there. Chris Jones. It starts to add up.
Yep. Well, as I'm looking at the numbers, and again, I'm not a cap expert, but in terms of dead money this year, it also doesn't help the Raiders' cause that they're taking guys so high in the draft and they're less than productive. So, when your cap hit on Cleve Ferrell is $18 million, when your cap hit on Ruggs, and Ruggs has plenty of time, but when that's like $13 million, they do have a dead cap amount of like.
Wait. Just to be clear, Cleveland Ferrell's cap hit is 8.5. His dead number is 18.5.
Right. His cap hit is 8.5. So,
but that's not cheap, and he's not a difference maker.
Right. Because they have the money spread. They have the money spread all over the place, but I don't know. They never seem to have room. So,
no, I listen. I'm with you, and I think they're closer than Raider fans think. I thought that last year. I think that again this year.
Closer to winning, not closer to getting Julio Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to, it's always when are you cheaper to cut than keep, right? They don't have an answer at quarterback, so that's not happening. If you go down their highest paid guys, the first guy that's cheaper to cut, you can't cut Colton Miller, you can't cut Ngakoue, you can't, and you wouldn't want to, you just acquired him, but can't cut Corey Littleton, can't cut Cleveland Ferrell, could cut Darren Waller for a few $100,000, but of course you wouldn't. Can't cut Nassib, can't cut Kwiatkowski, can't cut Morrow.
Well, they just signed Morrow, so
No, I'm just going through, but everybody on the top end of their salary structure, there's not a one of them you could start to walk away from.
Right.
It's like you made your bed. This is your squad, and you're going to roll with it.
These are the draft picks. They got to be good. You can't miss on freaking 70% of them.
Yeah, I will tell you.
I think this is a thought, and I'd have to look into this. Did they have to extend Colton Miller when they did? They got him early, and their mindset is like, well, a guy like him, he's going to cost a lot more. He can cost like $5 million more a year if we wait. Was he?
Well, who was the guy for the Broncos left tackle? I think he was from Colorado State that didn't do squat for 3 years, then had a decent year, and they just had to give him big cash.
Are you talking about Bowles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wasn't spectacular. And so I do agree. And I think the Chiefs are going to pay that price. I think Orlando Miller is going to get around $20 million. And I don't think he's 91% of Trent Williams.
So if you're Jones, would you go to the Patriots? Would you want to go to he wants to go to the Patriots.
I would want to go where there's a quarterback.
Yep.
Right. If you believe in Mac Jones, which you can see him him and Cam Newton are buddies, but then there's also an Alabama buddy, an Alabama guy. All those guys go back to campus and hang out, so he probably knows Mac Jones. Then, I can see wanting to go there. Listen, going to play for a coach that's won 6 Super Bowls is not stupidity. I think the spot that I don't think has managed the cap very well and has had a bad offseason is Tennessee. Everyone looks at Henry and A.J. Brown and they say, okay, weapons galore. And yeah, they would have that. But Tannehill is good, not great. And they've lost a lot of other pieces. You basically be trading for Julio Jones to replace Corey Davis, and you got more expensive with an older player. Why would you make that move?
Why is the NFL allowing A.J. Brown to publicly recruit Julio Jones? I mean, isn't this like a pretty clear, obvious case of tampering?
Yes. Yes.
I think they'll put a stop. I'm guessing today is the last time we see anything from him.
Yes.
That should be enough.
I mean, you have his number, for Christ's sake, call him.
Yeah.
Why do you have to go through social media? That's just like a big show. Let all the fans know that I'm cool with Julio Jones. Let's go get him. Let's go get Julio. All right, whatever.
So a couple of baseball stories I wanted to hit today. One, have you guys talked about Mickey Callaway at all, or is that just kind of it is what it is? Let's not, the guy's an asshole. We don't need to sit here and bash him as a
human being,
as a womanizing, whatever, fucking terrorizing women. Just cut it out, dude.
I have not really, just because it's not local.
Yeah,
it's been there in the background a few times. Like, okay, if we need something else, we'll go there. But I think, to me, the story on that is multiple organizations that all, according to everybody, knew exactly what he was.
Yeah. Well, but by the way, what is he?
It's like, what is the real story you're saying on what he's done?
Okay. Well, I think there's a couple of things here, but I think there's also something else people haven't talked about. And I don't want to be an asshole and throw out allegations, but listen, he's like hyper aggressive going after women, dude. And again, not to be judgmental, maybe he works his balls off to be in the condition he's in, but boy, he's awfully jacked up for a guy that age. And I mean, some people who do go with the special sauce get a little extra aggressive. And that would be another thing around baseball. Like if you see a guy who's all yoked up at like 52 years old and he's freaking hyper aggressive with women, and you're just like, that's Mickey. Yeah, that's baseball. Like, no, like the message has been sent. Cut it out with the female reporters. The Astros had some asshole who was, after the problem with the reliever, who, by the way, is not in baseball still, right? I don't think he signed anywhere, Roberto Osuna. They had some junior assistant GM being a dickhead in the clubhouse. And it's just that old boys club that exists in sports, and I think especially in baseball. It exists in football. If you have some moron interviewing Eugene Chung, and he's like, "Yeah, you're not the right kind of minority." Like, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Okay, here we go.
You're not part of the crew, huh? Oh, I guess all the white guys I hang out with, they all think that's funny. Come on, dude, you're Korean. You know what I'm saying? Good minority.
So I was gonna, just to go back a little bit, I was gonna be like, how do you know the guy's all yoked up?
Have you seen some pictures?
I ran across one where I saw he was laying down and wasn't wearing a shirt, and you could see that clearly there was some work done on the shoulders.
Right. That's not that, and that's what I was referencing. I'm like, man, he's got that what are those, the deltoids? I always get it wrong. Yeah. I ask you every time, right? I'm like, wow, for a guy who's like 50, he's all into posing in his bed. He's got the muscles and all that stuff. So who knows, man?
Maybe a lot of baseball players have the Popeye forearms.
Yeah, maybe he lifts hard. I don't know. But it just seemed like his behavior was that, I guess, one, it's of kind of baseball privilege. You also, if you follow baseball, there is a culture. There are women around baseball teams often. I don't know if that is slowed down, but baseball players do okay for themselves. So,
the thing, you mentioned the Good Old Boys Network. The thing that strikes me is, how does baseball with a straight face sit here and go like, yeah, 3 teams had this guy and everybody knew what was going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you serious about character or not? And I think 90% of the teams in all professional sports, the answer is no.
The Redskins, the football team, how long was that shit going on? And then, they try to kind of walk away from it, first of all, by doing a lot of diversity hiring and then bringing women in. But the whole thing around it was like, oh, it wasn't Snyder. Like, It is Snyder too. Starts from the top down.
Absolutely.
He's a little puke. You know, as I called him all the time during last season, the freaking Sny Dog. He is the fucking rich nerd in the fraternity who's benefiting from being rich, and he still wants to act like around women like he's the rich frat kid, the Sny Dog. You know, put his hat on backwards, making stupid comments, and he can get away with it. Now he can get away with it, or he could, because he's rich. That's another one. The NFL has absolutely suppressed that one because they know Sny Dog is super litigious, so he'll fight it like hell. But we know he's part of it. Wasn't like I didn't know what was going on. Like it's your culture, bro.
Well, and how about the fact that the commissioner and the owners are never available to answer any questions? I mean, one of the biggest stories going in sports today is that Bob Kraft used then citizen Donald Trump to reach out and bribe a U.S. senator. I mean, that's the accusation now.
Right, to get the investigation, for our inspector to back off on the Spygate investigation. The allegation is, yes, buddies, right? Robert Kraft went to Trump and said, hey, work on this for me. And people read it. They're like, fake news. Like, that is so believable. This is now Bob Kraft getting hand jobs by Asian, masseuses in Florida. He got away with that. And now he could be involved in a payoff thing. We had a legal insider on today, like we always do. Justin Watkins is out. So we had Dan Lustin. And I was like really hammering the fact. I'm like, hey, the NFL always wants to investigate the players. Like Deshaun Watson should play. It's not done. Nothing's happened. And it's like, no, he's going to go on the exempt list. Look at Kraft and this case. Put him on the exempt list. This is two things that have come out. I mean, these allegations are from years ago, a case years ago. And I understand he's one of the bosses. But at some point, like, put your foot down.
Yeah, I listen. The ownership, and how do you get to it? Roger Goodell will go on with a couple of lapdog national guys that are going to sit there and be petted during the interview and ask no difficult questions, talk about hugging guys at the draft and all kinds of bullshit. And no one's ever going to ask him a real question, right? Meanwhile, your local owners, like how often is the owner available for interviews in Vegas?
Mark Davis is probably more available than most.
Okay.
But
how often?
Oh, I would say probably 12 to 15 times a year. It may be a very small group.
Okay, so KC, Clark Hunt is available going into the during the draft on like a Saturday. Always the day where as few media as possible, like Saturday or Sunday of the draft. He's available once at training camp usually, and then like at the Super Bowl. 3 times a year is when he's available, right? And you can call and ask, and they're like, yeah, no, he's just going to do something. And he does it in a general media situation, and he's got about 10 minutes. Yeah. So there's 30 minutes of accessibility for a guy that's receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money a year, right? And you can't get Roger Goodell to come on. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to take your time with Clark Hunt and go, hey, what do you think about Bob Kraft? And the fact
Mark Davis is available to Mayor Vegas at the Aces game because he bought into the WNBA. I kind of believe this. He didn't give me an answer, but says I sat next to Mark Davis at the Aces game Sunday. What happened to David Irving? I asked. No idea. He said.
I mean, I don't know. Davis must not have the kind of seats that Clark Hunt has when he goes to a game. Because you ended up sitting next to Clark Hunt.
Right. So,
and I'm not saying Clark Hunt's definitely not one of the richer owners. I mean, he's the lead guy, but he and his 4 siblings, I think, own basically all the same amount. He's a 20% owner. But he's got the hammer. Right. They're grandfathered in. They don't have the rules that like now when you buy a team, you have to be, I think it's 51% liquid and the lead guy has to own 60% of the team, or it's 60% liquid and the lead guy has to own 51%. One of those, there's a 51 and a 60 number in there on the owners, but they're all the teams that are inherited are grandfathered in.
By the way, question for Mayor. I saw a couple of pictures of the Aces game on Sunday. How many fans were there? Because the image I saw looked like there were less than like 300, but maybe it was a shot before the game. They're allowed to have 2,000. I actually complained about it. I kind of ranted one day. I was like, why are the Aces only allowed 2,000 in their arena that holds 11,500, but the Knights can have 12,000 when their arena holds 18? That's not fair. Let the Aces let in 6,000 or 7,000 people. No one got what I was saying.
I got it.
You just got it. But a couple of people I asked either refused to answer or kind of really thought I was ranting about it. So there you go.
I've known you're an asshole for a long time.
But let's not tackle that. Well, because we won't deal with reality. It's, can we stop? If people want to go, they're going to buy the tickets. No one's holding back. It's an open market situation now that there's more availability to go to games. If people don't go, listen, I mean, the A's can let in 12,000 people. They had 3,019 the other day. There are reasons.
I think there is still some people, clearly not in Utah, but there are some people that are still not ready. As I've been looking at the crowd here throughout, but there are some people that probably still aren't ready to head back out. Do you think every building would be full if they said, okay, full capacity today? Which I know here in Kansas City, June, both the Royals and Sporting are full capacity. I don't think it's going to be a threat to not be able to get a ticket for the Royals.
Yeah.
You might want to have called it 70% and acted like you were maxing out the ticket sales. 40%. Yeah. Mondays, it's 30% ticket capacity.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're gonna take ticket capacity to 85%. COVID related, nothing to do with the historical trend of what our capacity looks like.
Jim, I didn't see it. What was Jim Gemma, who works for the Aviators in town, our AAA team, says, notice there were not a lot of fans tonight either in Phoenix for the Aces game. So I don't know. I didn't see it. That one's a tough sell for Las Vegans on a night, game 6 for the Golden Knights to be like, yeah, I got to turn on the Aces game. A little tougher.
It is tougher.
Mayor says maybe nobody courtside or anyone in the first 10 rows. I don't know. Maybe
the WNBA is the NBA, so the rules would seem like they should be the same. They're not separate entities.
Yeah. Damn, you know what? I don't know state by state. It seemed like MSG was super crowded through these first couple of games, or super loud. So I don't know if they're over 10,000 or what the deal is. You could certainly hear them as they were saying. I don't know what the chant was tonight. I know one of them was Trey is balding, but I think the F-bombs were dropping again on Trey. I think at the very end of the game, they were saying F Trey Young because he turned to the crowd and just started laughing.
Yeah, he welcome to being a villain. Listen, they're going to be if the Royals can, and they lost an extra innings tonight to the Rays. They had fought back to 500, but and had a chance to go above 500, and they ended the Rays' 11-game win streak yesterday. Their capacity is going to be max. So if 38,000 people want to go, there's going to be 38,000 people.
Yeah, I don't know the Yankees and Mets deal. Like Brady just said, MSG at 15,000. The Islander crowd tonight was insane because the Islanders deal, right? So they won for the first time at the Nassau Mausoleum. Was it since 2003? Obviously, they were gone for a long time. They went to that crap hole in Brooklyn, which was, according to Adam Hill, it's a nice arena. Barclays is a nice arena. It's not a hockey arena, and their fan base doesn't want to go to friggin' Brooklyn. So they're going to work on their plan to build their new arena. But for now, they're at the Coliseum. So
now they're coming to Kansas City.
Maybe. Yeah, one of the dumber things ever. The Islanders are like, let's go to one of the 5 boroughs and abandon our fans who freaking don't really want to go to the 5 boroughs. They like being on Long Island. So first series since '93. I said 2003. So yeah, for people who grew up in the New York, New Jersey area, like Long Island for me is like a foreign country, and I don't mean the people there. I mean it is so far away. I went to the Coliseum one time. And then one other time I went out to play golf at Bethpage, the U.S. Open course every once in a while, and it was like a 3-hour journey, and it's probably 50 miles.
If you go to Long Island, you're only going to Long Island. You're not going elsewhere. Like you're not like, oh, let's run into Manhattan. Let's go. No, you're going to Long Island. Like I went home. I grew up in Kansas City, but went to school in Syracuse, and I'd go home with guys that were from the tri-state area, and you might as well have been going to Boston.
It's a different part of that world.
Yeah,
different part of that world. Damn, I wanted to punch up. There was actually some Syracuse lore up. I don't know if you saw this one. It's Nerdville. I talked about it for like 2 minutes. I'll see if I can pull it up here. But someone put out the 1986 top 50 high school players and their destinations.
Okay, so they would have been the 86, 87.
Probably 85, 86. Syracuse cleaned up, man. Syracuse cleaned up.
So the 85, 86 college season was their freshman year. What was their freshman year?
I think their 86 was their freshman year, but I might be off. So Derek Coleman,
but like you gotta define.
Right, I know. What year?
There's the recruiting class is the year is marked by the year that it starts in.
Right.
But most people refer to the team as the year it finished in.
So it would be the 86-87 Syracuse team. Was that Derek Coleman's freshman year?
That would be when they lost to Indiana in the championship in Derek Coleman's freshman year. Yes.
I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I'll try to punch it out.
Derek Coleman, Stevie Thompson. Was Derek Brower in that class?
They got 4 top 50 guys. You're gonna laugh when you see 2 of the top 50 because I laughed. That should give it away. The original beneficiary.
Oh no, Hugh Duncan and Hughes.
Yep.
Yeah. You're Rutgers guys. Yeah, I remember them transferring out.
This is real hard to see. It's
oh yeah, I can see that perfectly.
I know it's terrible. It's
my X-ray vision.
I mean, I can read it to you. Let's see. J.R. Reed was 1. Terry Mills 2.
Rex Chapman.
Ramil Robinson was 4. Derek Coleman was the 5th highest recruit in the country.
Yeah.
By the way,
number one pick eventually.
I absolutely alleged Boeheim doing some funny business to get his recruiting class. How did Derek Coleman not land at Michigan when they got Ramil Robinson and Terry Mills and Coleman from Detroit?
I think because Terry Mills went to Michigan and he wasn't going to be the starting 4.
I feel like Syracuse got the right guy.
Listen, when I was there, Derek Coleman drove a black Jeep Wagoneer. Billy Owens drove, I think it was a red Wagoneer. Stevie Thompson drove a white Wagoneer. Yeah. And then when we went on probation my senior year of 92, 93, the Wagoneer dealership guy who had been the on-the-road statistician and traveled with the team was banned from all team travel. But they went on probation for free haircuts and free food. Now, you see if you can connect those 2 dots.
So that I don't feel uncomfortable talking about Derek Coleman and getting 4 guys in the top 50 and maybe what they got. But, yeah, Stevie Thompson was the 26th ranked player coming from L.A., and then they got Earl Duncan from L.A., and then they got Keith Hughes from New Jersey. And
they did have a pipeline. Mike Hopkins came from L.A. They had a number of guys. LaRon Ellis went to Kentucky. We were the runner-up for him. And then when the whole Emory money falling out on Chris Mills and all the Kentucky guys could free transfer, LaRon Ellis came to Syracuse. They actually had a hook in L.A. I can't remember who the recruiter was, but
2 uncommitted guys on the list. It was Stacey Ogman, who eventually wound up at UNLV.
He was on Syracuse's list too, though, by the way. Where was Stacey Ogman from?
Southern Cal, Pasadena.
Was he? Yeah, he was. I remember him. Syracuse is one of his, schools.
Abdul Nabi.
Sure.
Was okay. I don't know if he was the 21st player in the country. But
hang on, I'm trying to zoom in on this.
It's terrible.
Mark Randall to Kansas, number 9. That's fantastic. Dwayne Shinsis, number 12.
Second Dwayne Shinsis reference in the last 3 days on shows that I've done. We were trying to go we try not to go white to white or black to black on basketball player comparison. So I really I don't think I did Taco Fall to Dwayne Shinsis. I just wanted to bring up Dwayne Shinsis.
Dwayne
And then
Shintzis.
I didn't realize that Dwayne Shintzis actually passed away, so then I felt bad. He passed away.
Dwayne Shintzis was more Greg Ostertag without the productivity.
And better hair. Ostertag.
I mean, that's debatable. Flat top or mullet, what's your choice?
Mullet.
By the way, from this list, Brian Oliver, Georgia Tech, he could go. He's part of Lethal Weapon 3, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Felton Spencer, first-round pick from Louisville eventually. Willie Burton at Minnesota helped beat Syracuse in the Sweet 16.
I love that you can read this. I could barely read it. It's in front of me.
I zoomed it in. I went in. If you've got an Apple, you can zoom it in.
Oh, okay.
Andy Kennedy would go on. Is that Andy Kennedy that go on to coach?
I'm guessing, yeah. I didn't know he was that high-level recruit.
I didn't know he was 6'7".
Yeah.
Mark Tillman at Georgetown was a tremendous player for Georgetown. I took him in my player pool.
Kendall Gill's 40. He turned out to be a hell of a player in the NBA. Very solid player.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the best players in the entire
Lionel Simmons.
Lionel Simmons, yep.
LaSalle.
Yep.
Yeah, you're just so happy there's some Rutgers guys on there.
Rutgers got 2 top 50 guys that year. Like 3 years later.
And what'd that get you?
It actually, you know what's funny? That was the last NCAA tournament appearance they made was with those guys. That was the game I talked about forever until these last 2 years that I was on the student broadcast. I was part of the last broadcast team on the amateur side that actually called an NCAA game, and it took a freaking nearly 30 years to get back. Back then I was like, we're going to be in the tournament all the time. 30 years. What are you going to do?
Cofield's glory days.
Which, by the way, brings me to, I think you had this discussion. I think it is much better to be a Rays fan than a Royals fan.
Why? Explain why. And then I'll explain the conversation we had.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can tell me the premise. I would rather win a lot and consistently for years and years and years and have a chance to be above like 85 wins.
Right.
I'd rather have excitement almost every year rather than have like 3 of 17 years.
How many parades have you been to?
A few Yankee parades. I actually have. Where's my T-shirt back there? The Subway Series year. I've got that one.
So with the Yankees,
but it's a different case with the Yankees.
It is different. The Yankees are like I root for the Lakers. I've seen championships for the Lakers. It's not the same when you're the team that's not supposed to win. And so I would say a championship season, flags are forever.
By the way, this is
forever
true.
In Tampa.
This is true. I have claimed to play a big role in that tournament berth back then. Earl Duncan was a little bit out of shape, and they would bring me in because I was small and fast, and I would work on the side with Earl Duncan. At first he couldn't get by me, but eventually, that Syracuse conditioning program. The kid came in at like 220 pounds, Petro. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It
wasn't
the hoagie shops around Rutgers.
No. Yes.
No, but the gist of the argument was like over the last 15 years, kind of like the Dayton Moore era with the Royals. The Royals have made exactly 2 playoffs.
Right.
But they've made 2 World Series and they've won 1. The Rays have been to 6 playoffs. The Royals have 1 division championship. The Rays have 3. Rays have been to 6 playoffs, 2 World Series, no championships, but many more winning seasons. Their wins and losses are significantly better. Right. So which one's been the more successful franchise? And Curtis, who works with me, wants to say the Rays.
Right.
But he knows I'm going to be like, okay, now prove it, validate it, back it up. And he doesn't want to do that because he knows I'm going to, twist him around. But like he absolutely felt like the Rays were better. He agreed with you. And I don't know that I disagree with you, but I do think I think if you're talking about 0 championships or 1, the Rays are better. If the Royals had won 3 and the Rays had won 2 and then had many more winning seasons, I would agree with you. But I do think the ultimate goal is to win a championship. And if one team's won a championship and the other one hasn't, I think the price for the one championship is infinity. There is no amount that gets you there. Now, if you get to one team's won 5 and one's won 4, I don't think quantity of championships defines it. Like the whole Jordan won 6, LeBron won 4, game over, bullshit.
Hey, Adam Hill, jump in rather than have a side conversation with the people watching, jump in and answer a few questions. If you can, if you're near a camera. I don't mean to make that sound like all bitter, but if you want to jump in, because people were asking about Fleury and Leonard. So, yeah, I guess because I root for some bad teams.
Jets.
I root for the Yankees. It's been rough. One championship this century. But yeah, the Jets and my college football, college basketball mostly stink. I would rather just have, I can't even grasp winning championships. I'd rather just have 15 years of being competitive and being in the playoffs here and there. So, but to me, the Royals versus Rays is a great discussion, and the Royals versus Twins. We got a lot of Twins fans in the room, and this year the Twins suck, but the Twins are a good organization. But my God, when they get to the playoffs, they don't win. So it's is it cool to go, to win 87 to 94 games every year? At least you have that hope. In the end, you haven't won yet.
Do you agree that there is a formula for winning playoff baseball? Or do you think it's just luck, as is the conclusion in Moneyball?
Well, can we compare the formula of how the Royals did it and how the Rays are trying to do it? Aren't they kind of similar? I mean, the Rays have changed it with the openers, but in terms of kind of devaluing or not worrying about spending gazillions of dollars on the starting pitcher and making sure that you have a great deep power bullpen, kind of seems like the Rays have done a lot of what the Royals were doing.
Well, I think a lot of teams have copied the Royals formula. I think the money teams, the power teams have said, oh, okay, we don't need to just keep spending on these big power hitters that swing and miss throughout the playoffs because they don't get to hit their 20 home runs against the soft underbelly of the pitching staff anymore. So let's go spend on the relievers. Yeah, I think that came from Dayton Moore and the Royals' ability to close out games. If the Royals led, they won, period. Especially when they were able to extend them out. Yes, I think every team has copied that formula, and that was the Royals' formula. I think there are guys that have changed the bullpen, right? Dennis Eckersley and Tony La Russa with the one-inning lights-out guy. If we get to the ninth, it's over. I think the next guy was Joe Torre, who's like, okay, I got that guy, but in the playoffs, I'll send him for 5 to 7 outs. And Mariano Rivera would be extended out. And then there was Ned Yost, who went, okay, I don't have a Rivera per se, but I have 3 guys that, and really, Wade Davis was as dominant or more dominant than any pitcher that's ever been at the back of a bullpen. I mean, he was just zeros every time. And I can extend them in the postseason, and we can get 3 to 6 innings out of these guys. And so, yes, I think that absolutely revolutionized the game. I think now Dayton Moore is following the trend that the Rays are putting out there of depth of power pitching. And so you have power starters, but then you have plenty of guys that when they realize that they only have 2 pitches, then they end up being power relievers. I do think the Royals and their rebuild now with all the pitching they've invested in, particularly Asa Lacy, drafting him with the 3rd overall pick in the 20 draft, last year's draft. I think it was the 20 draft. Yeah, Bobby Witt was 19. 18 was Brady Singer. In the 20 draft, when there were other bats that were there, as he said, we're going to overload with power pitching. And that's chasing the Rays formula. And I think there's a little bit of, I'll find the extra bats. They do like I do think there's a formula. Top 5 picks should probably be bats in most cases. But depth of power pitching is what the Rays have been all about. Right. As a guy who does fantasy baseball, you can look at it like the Rays have 7 guys that are 14 Ks per 9 or better.
And then they just looked at Willie Adames and they're like, it's not working out. You know what? We need more arms. So,
I think they looked at him and said, we have the best prospect in baseball coming behind you.
Yeah, that too.
I think the Rays are empowered by the fact that no one comes to their games. So, there's not a lot of people I'm not going to the game if you trade this guy. Bullshit. They can do whatever they want. If it's an unorthodox move, make it happen. Hey, thanks for getting out of bed, Adam.
Out of bed. He's been writing. He's probably he's got to get back after he wrote VGK tonight. He's probably getting back to writing 19 features for the Raiders today.
I got to
one day of OTs.
Yeah, just got off deadline for the ninth, and I got an incognito feature to finish.
God, you love incognito. Do you just pitch it anytime you get to talk to him? Do you just pitch an incognito feature? You love him.
Well, it's definitely. I mean, yes, it's true, but it's definitely relevant today. I mean, they get rid of every other veteran on the offensive line, and they're like, "Hey, old guy, you're all on your own now with a bunch of young kids." So,
did you get some one-on-one time with incognito?
No, it's still all Zoom. It sucks.
It's still Zoom?
Oh yeah.
I thought you were in front of him today.
No, I was on the field.
So you watch him on the field, but you guys can't do a scrum.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, how many teams are at the vaccination level?
Oh, dude, I actually wanted to do Steve. I told you this weeks ago, and now did you see the column in the Buffalo News this morning?
Well, wait a minute before you say that, because I want to say this before, so no one thinks I'm reacting. I had Dayton Moore on, the Royals general manager, specifically to talk about it, because I have been told Dayton Moore said, nope, everything's great. Baseball players, they all get along, they bond. But I've been told that there's been friction in the Royals clubhouse amongst guys who are vaccinated and guys who aren't, because the guys who are vaccinated are tired of going through all the protocols because they can't get to 85%. And that's not a Royals problem. It is a Royals problem, but it's a throughout baseball issue.
Petro. It was public last week that the Cubs were pissed off because they can't get to 85%. And then, Adam, did you send the story over last week? We talked about it briefly, that the Mariners are barely at 50%. What do you think that clubhouse is like?
Yeah. Well, but I told you that there's some real controversy. And the column of the Buffalo News today basically was like, everything that they've built over the last 4 years is on the verge of collapsing because of vaccinations.
Wow.
I could not be happier.
I just want to see it because I'm like, that's show topic tomorrow.
Adam has been talking about Jordan Poyer, but his wife specifically, for a month. And then, of course, Josh Allen made the statement that he was a little hesitant to get vaccinated. But the Poyer wife has been a superstar in Buffalo. And
she was a big part of the column. For sure, but also, Cole Beasley had the incidents last week on Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. Cole Beasley did it too. He's an anti-vaxxer.
Where he was kind of, oh, dude.
What's the Buffalo paper?
The column actually hit. Well,
Adam,
on my
you're breaking up a little bit. Adam, you're breaking up a little bit. So you look thrilled. Which is funny and like
I think
super
it was
slow motion.
Carucci wrote the column, if I'm not mistaken.
Like he has no idea.
Vic Carucci?
Sorry.
Yeah. Adam is the only mainstream newspaper guy in the country who refuses to get the fucking plug-in line.
I believe so, yeah.
Why do you not have like Ethernet?
He doesn't. I don't.
It's fair question. It's a completely fair.
Okay,
question.
good.
I don't know. I'm good with it.
Right.
Good. Am I back?
You are. It's better.
Kind of, mostly.
I'm reloading. Hold on.
We're talking. We got anti-vaxxer conversation. Yep. As Kirk says, Adam's an anti-Ethernetter. Doesn't make any sense. Brady already chimed in and said, Adam, your connection is worse than the Vegas Golden Knights power play. Strong stuff there. Kirk always brings the funnies.
Let me ask you a question. Like, we're at a point in Kansas City where you don't even have to make a reservation to get a vaccination.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you just show up and they've got the shots for you. Like, where are you at in Vegas as far as that goes?
They're shutting places down because no one's showing up. Like, we're not, who does anyone know the vaccination rate? I don't think we're beyond 50%. I mean, our goal was to get beyond 60. We're never going to get there. I don't know if you saw not to get political, but if you saw, there was a piece early in the week that said basically the state by state, if you just look at who won the state, that most of the Trump states are struggling to get to like 35%. New England, across New England's actually, I mean, if you judge it by total vaccinations or fully vaccinated people, New England's the safest part of the country to be in right now because New England's completely jumped on board, and most of the states are pushing 65 or 70%. But we got plenty of people here who are freedom fighters, and they were anti-maskers and they're anti-vaxxers, and America. They're going to do whatever they want. So we're not going to force them to do anything they don't want to do.
I mean, listen, as long as I'm covered, I'll get my booster shot whenever. I mean,
we were at like 35% like a month ago. We're at 50 or 52%. It's pathetic. And yet we already brought up the case that the casinos told all their employees, like, we got to get to 88% to get 100% of capacity in here. And like, they assisted people. And I don't know what the count is now. I know as of last week, 24 properties in Vegas had eclipsed 88%. So if you want to do it, if you want to work, then people will do it. But there's a lot of people out there who are like, they've got some other agenda.
Dayton Moore said, we educate, we tell them about the vaccinations and how they're safe and all that, but ultimately it's an individual choice and we're not going to pressure anybody either way. Like, I don't know. It's not about pressuring. Like, I would say there's an element, are you a team player or not? Like, I don't get baseball. We'll tell everybody like, oh yeah, you got to go out there when you're hurt and give it a go. Are you hurt or are you injured? But now at this level, just make your own choice. Okay.
I've done the rant too many times, so
yeah, I know. I'm with you 100%.
You throw your hands up. What are you gonna do? I'll just say I don't know what your workplace is like. I know we're not forcing people who come in the building to be vaccinated. If we're going to be in a studio together, the host have to be fully vaccinated, but the other people around the building do not have to be vaccinated. So I've been in the building once in the last couple of months. So
I went back like 2 weeks ago because me, Curtis, and Jed are the guys that I work with. And so I waited for Curtis to be fully vaccinated, get through the 2 week post second shot. And he was just about a week or so after Jed on his timeline. And with that, now I go in at 1:59 for a 2 o'clock show.
All right. Sorry about that, Adam. Adam was waiting in the room there.
That's my fault. The connection sucks, obviously.
Obviously.
So finish up on the Bills. Look at how happy he is. So the Bills are getting splintered by this nonsense?
Well, it's not reporting. It's a column at this point. But, the suggestion is, like, one of the things that has been the hallmark of McDermott and Brandon Beane and what they've done there is, what they've built as in terms of, chemistry and team building. And there's definitely a sense that it's being fractured. And McDermott didn't go off about it yesterday at their OTA press conference, but he definitely brought it up. He's like, yeah, it's frustrating. He's like, we're so close. Like, just let's go. And he's in a really tough spot because I'm like, it's what I've complained about for years, but like Josh Allen could take a dump on the 50-yard line and people will be like, wow, that's the greatest thing that's ever happened to this city. And Josh Allen's an anti-vaxxer. So like, how are you going to deal with this? How are you as Sean McDermott going to be like, hey, jackasses, let's fucking go because it'll help us win games to be back to normal when it's your shitty quarterback who's the one that's the problem. And then, as you said, Cole Beasley, and then, Rachel Bush, who has way too much power as an Instagram model in the locker room for some reason, is like the most hardcore QAnon crazy person.
Who is Rachel Bush?
She's a massive Instagram model who's married to Jordan Poyer, a safety for the Bills. Also is famous because Jordan Poyer, when he was on the Browns, took her to a Cavs game and sat courtside, and LeBron slid in her DMs and was like, what are you doing with him? Like, let's go. She's big on Instagram, Sarin. The kids, as the kids would say, she's gone viral there. But yeah, she's a real problem with some of her tweeting and some of her nonsense. I mean, she is hardcore Q, and she's not shy about it. And she went on Twitter 2 weeks ago and said, hey, McDermott and Beane, like you are, if you continue with this vaccination nonsense, you're going to ruin everything you've built here. And that kind of started down this whole path. And now McDermott is kind of, without coming right out and saying it, he's like, this is nuts. And AJ, who cares about their politics? It's not the politics. It's not getting vaccinated. Like, if your politics are affecting you not getting vaccinated, then that's an issue.
I see where a couple of players wouldn't answer the question about whether or not they've been vaccinated. I started that. I was not around Saturday and Sunday for the Chiefs rookies, but on Friday I was, and I didn't think of it on the first one. But their fourth pick, Joshua Kando, and one of their second-round picks, Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma. I asked both of them, have you been vaccinated? First I asked Kando, have you been vaccinated? He said no. Then on Creed Humphrey, who was next, I said, have you been vaccinated or do you plan to? He said, I plan to. So 0 for 2 on Chiefs that I've asked.
Someone asked earlier, Adam, is incognito? Did you ask him? Big fella to big fella?
So I will tell you, like my plan, I do want to ask about vaccinations, but I actually had other things I had to do today. And I was, as you know, we only get one question. So I'm like, fuck, I got to ask my questions. Hopefully,
one question? Hit and run. They will cut you off.
Hopefully next Wednesday, I'll be able to do it. But we actually did. I will say that a couple of us sat around and were like, I will tell you right now, 7 players that are definitely anti-vax. They've never come out,
right?
But I can tell you right now they're anti-vax.
Okay, who are they?
And he was on the list. He was definitely on the list. Jalen Richard definitely on the list. Dallin Levitt, we know. Because of last year, Saran, Dallin Levitt is a free, he's a special team.
Oh, that's right.
And last year he was a victim of a scam, basically a scam phone call where somebody called him and said, "Hey, you've tested positive for COVID. Send us your credit card number and we'll get you treated." And so he came out and he goes, "See, this is just a scam from the government to try to get our money from us." Like, it's not the government, jackass. It's some weird scam phone caller. Like, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing? So yeah, there's definitely a group that I would wager are definitely anti-vax. But yeah, we've got to this point, Jalen Richard's still on the team. Yeah, he was there today. It's a weird one. I can't imagine he's on the team when the season starts, but he's on the team still right now. I actually think he wants to go. Is what they're dealing with right now. Is my take on the situation. Like, he wants to be cut so he can go find another job because he knows he's not going to be on the roster when the season starts. But they won't cut him.
Do you think Gruden's fully vaccinated?
Wow,
to pause on that is outrageous. But he obviously he didn't respect COVID a whole lot last year. The Raiders, and he wound up costing Davis like fucking $1 million or whatever. They all total paid like over $1 million in fines.
Yeah. I would imagine, yes, because he's so psychotic about competition. Yeah. That I imagine he is. Because to the point of you can't, I think it was AJ said again, you can't force him to get vaccinated. Yeah, you can't. But it is a competitive issue. Like, if you can't be all together in meeting rooms because you have 6 or 7 or 8 players that refuse to get the vaccine, it's not, this is not just a health choice. This is a competitive advantage issue. So I would imagine for that reason, Gruden probably would, even though I would imagine that he probably would be. There's probably like some reservations on his part. I just think it's fascinating, and I think it's going to be as we get closer to the season. It is going to be a major issue. Like, I've been banging this drum, as you know, Steve, for a while. But as we get closer and closer, if certain teams can't be in meeting rooms together, and some can. Like, that is a huge issue. That's going to be
happening in baseball right now.
I know.
I had one person tell me 9 teams have cleared 85%. This was about 5 days ago. Another person told me 13. So if you're like out to dinner, like the teams that don't clear it can't go out to dinner on the road.
Yeah. And
can you imagine being in a workplace like that and containing yourself?
And you're used to running around, as you said, the baseball culture, chasing skirts and whatnot, and now you're confined to the room.
Saran, what would you do? You can, you can be a little outspoken.
What would I do? I mean,
what would you do? What would you do in the workplace if that's the case? If they now, your life is now altered because people won't jump on board.
It's difficult for me because my company, when I said, okay, I'm going home to do the show, then we're going to have each of the 3 of us in a different room, one in the control room, one in the studio, and me at home. And I'll be back when everybody gets vaccinated. And once everybody was vaccinated, I was back. Our crew, our group. And my company said, okay. So it's hard for me, I have no real life experience with what it's like because my company said, okay, we respect what you're talking about. And another guy at my station, they did the same thing. But like for me, like I don't know. I mean, this is how I view it is that if I'm driving around a mountain road and the speed limit's 65, I can't see around the corner, but I'm trusting that they put the speed limit sign up because they did their due diligence. There are numerous ways. I've never seen the pilot actually land the plane on a commercial airline, but I'm trusting that the guy can do it. Like there are numerous places throughout our lives that we put our trust in society that the checks and balances have been handled. And I think the conspiracy theory bullshit and but this is the one where they're out to get me is farcical and an indictment of our educational system, our medical system. I think doctors should be ashamed right now that nobody has confidence in them. I think the education system should be ashamed right now that people don't buy the knowledge. I think the media should be ashamed right now that the information you're telling people is now bought and paid for by political representation, and good journalism is now not respected and simply cast off because it's not what someone wants to hear as fake news. I think it's a fucking embarrassment for the entire country on so many levels. That's what I think.
Oh, true.
Yep. Gemma says 14 teams. So a little less than half of baseball is cleared.
Petro,
and I'm going to tell you, I asked Dave Moore, will you get to the 85%? The Royals aren't one of them. He confirmed that. I said, will you get to the 85% threshold? He said, I don't know. We'll see. He said, we had a couple more guys get vaccinated this week. I've had other people around the team tell me no chance.
Wow.
So 6 months, staying in the hotels, not going out and about. I mean, I'm going to tell you, listen, for me, and as you guys know, I've been one of the more like stay at home, guys, like adhere to all the rules, much more than Steve, who's running around New Orleans with his pants off. I now like, it's awkward, but it's been refreshing to like kind of do some real things now, do some normal things. My thing is I need to get, my oldest daughter has one shot, second one coming in a couple of weeks. I needed to get the next level to get I'll feel better when both my daughters have been vaccinated. Right now I want them to do their due diligence and find out what it is. But that's the big thing for me is like, I won't take the family to a restaurant until my kids are vaccinated. And I know that it's lesser on them, but that's just what I want. But for me and my wife who've had the shots and all that, I feel much more comfortable in, going out and about. I wear a mask if anyone else around me is wearing a mask to, show appreciation for their thoughts on where they are. If the door on a restaurant or any place I go in says wear a mask, I wear a mask. I take one around with me. Still doesn't seem that big a deal to me.
That's what I thought. I was thinking that today. I walked into a place to get coffee and it said mask required. I was like, all right, cool. And I put it on and it sunk in my head. I was like, how is this ever like such a problem? Who gives a fuck if you have to put a mask on? It's unbelievably easy. Here, it's on. Okay, we're cool. Now, if you want to, like, I've heard people yell and complain, it doesn't really do anything. First of all, look at the flu numbers for this year and tell me it doesn't do anything. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
But of course it does something. But it's just it's such an easy thing. Who cares if it's like, okay, it might reduce it. Say it only reduced it 1%. Okay. Cool. Like it's something, and it's you put it on and it's not that big of a deal. It's infuriating.
I may wear it when I travel on airlines for the rest of my life. Right? My great aunt gave me $5 when I was 30-something years old for my birthday because she lived through the Great Depression. Right? She was like, that was it. Like, you saved because you don't know. You might have 10 years where I'm not sure where the next meal is coming from. She lived through that, and that made an impression on her. And like you said, this has been the healthiest year of my life. Wearing masks, staying home, staying away from people. I've been sick in over a year.
Yeah.
So there's something to it, right? By the way, 11 and 14, I was asked how old my daughters are, 11 and 14. The 14-year-olds have one shot, the 11-year-old not eligible.
Going back to the conspiracy thing. Did you see the Bill Burr rant, Soren?
No.
It was great. He said like sometimes conspiracies are fun or interesting, and sometimes they're just flat out stupid. And he goes, this one is just so stupid. He's like, think about it on a logical level. Like, say that the vaccine is going to kill us, or it's going to kill us in 10 years or whatever, and this is some population control, like some people have said. He was like, so basically what the government is doing is everybody that's compliant, that's willing to comply with the government, is going to get the shot and die, and leave just the fucking crazy conspiracy theorists, difficult ones behind, because that's the ones that aren't getting the shot, and they're going to make it so much more difficult to actually control society by doing this. Like, why would they do it? I was like, God damn, that's brilliant. It's such a good point. Yeah. It's such an easy way to shoot down this nonsense conspiracy stuff.
No, it's like I said, there's so many different ways that we put our trust, put our lives, our well-being in the trust of others. The date on the meat, good till July 7th. How the fuck do you know?
Yep.
How do you know?
You know it's crazy though. Like
cheese is good till July 15th. It's the 14th. I'm good. It says 15th on here. How the fuck do you know?
And sometimes we trust it too much. Like speaking of those things, the other day I opened a bag of broccoli, and I was like, whoa, like this has gone bad. There's something wrong with it. And I looked at the date. It was like June 4th. And I was like, oh, well, the date says it's okay. I guess it's okay. And then I went to you and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to. But the date says June 4th.
Yeah. Listen,
do you guys? I was going to say, do you guys always follow?
I think most people are assholes, and I don't trust them.
Yeah.
But I know societally, there's some things that to make a society work, there has to be a level of trust.
Correct.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
It was a stupid point. It was just following up on the expiration dates on food. And if you're hardcore on the date, once it passes, you just toss the stuff.
I am not a day or two. I'll go a day or two with a smell test and a look and all that. But I'm kind of big on the dates.
Yeah, I had a bag of salad today that was it said May 19th. It was fine. I have another one that's May 21st. I'm eating it. Fuck it. I need to cry. Here's the thing. The way I look at it, this is gross. It's too much information. But as you get older, you need to crap like on the reg more. Like you get clogged up. If you're not eating the right way. And I'm like, if it's like slightly old salad, it'll go through me like a friggin' sieve. That's good.
I got no. I got bad chicken from Taco Bell one time.
Bad chicken is bad. Chicken is the one.
It was sitting on the toilet with a bucket.
Yeah.
For 24 hours.
Yeah,
and
bad.
Trying to take a sip of water and immediately puking it up. No, I am not down with challenging the date beyond a day or two.
What about red meat? I'll go along on red meat.
No meat. I'm not pressing we do not press the boundary on meat.
Are you afraid of trichinosis? I'll go hardcore on pork. I'll go late on pork.
No, I'm not going late on any meat. Is pork meat, jackass?
I'm just trying to specify. There are some meats that aren't as scary as others.
No, they're all scary in my opinion. I have a thermometer on the grill, making sure we've reached the minimum temperature to be safe.
I do it on pork. I do the thermometer on pork and chicken. With beef, I'm kind of the eye test, and I can look at it and see that it's cooked or medium rare like I like it.
You're an expert. God, you're my hero.
I've trained my stomach to be a machine. It can process almost everything. It can go with older food. If you eat older food consistently, then your stomach's like, all right, I can do this. Except that one time at Burger King, man, the classic chicken sandwich. Oh boy, it was not good.
It gotcha.
Like you said, you don't forget that one. It got me for like 2 days.
Part of the problem was that you went into a place named Burger King and opted for the chicken sandwich.
The classic chicken sandwich it's been around forever. It's been around for like 35 years.
I think you've lost your mind.
Let's see, a 3-year cured ham. What about frozen food? My attitude on frozen, it's fine. A couple years, it's fine.
Well, freezers cure everything.
Sure.
You freeze some and then cook it. Everything's gone from it. It's fine.
Everything's gone from it.
The smell test.
I wanted
I saw that in there.
I will say there's something about milk. Who put up the milk comment? There's something about milk. I don't know what movie or TV show. I've probably seen the scene a few times where people have like chugged a milk that was like all curdled and it just comes down on their face in like chunks. I always have that visual. So like with milk, I kind of do. I will smell it, and I don't go beyond like two or 3 days because I never want to have that rush of milk, freaking cheesy chunks on my face.
Are you sure that's not a subscription website?
I know it's at that just hardcore.
It's only $9.99 a month.
The Brazzers treatment from a gallon of milk. You just don't need it. I agree. Milk needs.
It's like the GIF of the gal with the hot dogs in the face. You know.
Oh, that's a great one.
Cofield with the milk chunks hitting him in the face.
First of all, isn't milk just objectively disgusting?
Not really.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you drink less of it as you get older, clearly. Unless you're Jim Harbaugh, then you have a steak with it.
Well, he also puts Gatorade in his cereal, which I admire.
That's wrong. On many levels.
We did that in studio. The Harbaugh challenge.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Was not good. Yep. DairyBukaki.com. Good site. Real good.
I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's funny anyway.
$10
billion industry doesn't include me.
This doesn't include me. All right, we'll wrap it. Good job, everybody. Good comments tonight. There's a bunch of stuff we get into from here, but that'll do it. That'll do it. I'm heartbroken. I'm devastated from the Golden Knights loss, so not in a good mood.